New federal whistleblower comes forward and reveals how much money has been misplaced by the Trudeau government, and the totals are shocking.
Oh, yeah!
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to The Fringe. Look, I get fed up talking about Justin Trudeau on this channel just as much as you guys get fed up seeing his disgusting face. But let's face it, this is the world we're living in right now when it comes to scandals that, during the 8-year tenure of Justin Trudeau, we always assumed, or we knew of SNC Lavalin, we knew about the Aga Khan, we knew about, expensive hotel rooms during the Queen's funeral. What we're starting to see now is the dark areas of corruption. We're starting to see what's happening within the government and what's been happening underneath us or behind our backs for the last 8 years. And when people talk about lockdowns, when people talk about pandemics, I hate sounding like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat, but it just feels like it was all designed to move money around and make people rich. And that this is my personal opinion. And again, I'm not saying that there weren't people who were affected by lockdowns or things that happened during those lockdowns, but that a lot of it just seems to line up with, well, corruptness. And I mean, that's no surprise to us. Now, what we're about to discuss here when it comes to this federal whistleblower, and again, in my intro, I said the amounts will shock you. I'll take a step back on that because I don't think anything shocks anybody anymore, to be honest. I'm on a daily basis becoming more and more ashamed to be Canadian. And I'm going to discuss why after we go through what's gone on with this whistleblower, because I have a big gripe with what's happening here. But it's not what you think it is. I want to get into this article that Rebel News, of all people, put out because, well, nobody else is really covering it. Which, again, speaks to the levels of corruption that are going on in our federal government. This shows you just what it is they're doing behind our backs again. As this federal whistleblower claims that the Green Slush Fund, this billion-dollar slush fund, misappropriated $150 million in taxpayer dues. Again, our tax money. I don't know about you guys. It's things like this that start to affect me personally because even as a taxpayer, I know my federal money is misplaced. I know that it's going to Justin Trudeau's pockets. I know as a citizen of Calgary, I just received an assessment from the city yesterday saying that my property taxes are going up $75 a month, thanks to our greedy mayor who has a spending problem. So once January 1st hits, I'm paying $75 more for the same property that I've lived on for the last 10 years. That somehow those $75 is going to go towards better services or better roads or well-funded projects, but instead it's going towards foolish spending, the mayor's raise that she'll self-appoint in January, as well as more wasted artwork and virtue signaling platforms. But here's $150 million in taxpayer dues. Federal whistleblower has blown the lid on allegations involving the misappropriation of taxpayer funds. Izar Ahmad, a former employee at Sustainable Development Technology Canada, or SDTC, which I'll refer to that as such for the rest of this article, estimates the foundation misappropriated up to $150 million in public grants. Izar Ahmad, a former employee of SDTC, told the Commons Industry Committee on Monday that the ministry intended to replace the slush fund's management, owning to what they described as a board failure altogether. In March, a whistleblower complaint revealed alleged breaches of conflict of interest and human resources deficiencies. In response, the federal government suspended all funding to the foundation on September 26. So this was reported in March, and it went on until September before something was done. Under its agreement with the Department of Innovation, Science, and Economic Development, the Green Fund had $1.6 billion to distribute to clean tech enterprises between 2021 and 2026. Again, this is where I get partially frustrated because you see moronic claims from people like Stephen Guilbeault that say plastics are going to kill the world and cows burping and farting is going to destroy mankind. This is where all this money's going, is to these idiotic ideologies, and they try to blindfold and put on a distraction that it's somehow benefiting the environment. But we know from day one where this money's truly going. A True North report uncovered allocation of tens of millions of dollars to firms in which its board members are financially invested, including millions in COOF relief payments. Ahmad estimates that up to $150 million could have been granted improperly, reported the Globe and Mail. And of course, we see here their tweet saying the $1 billion Green Slush Fund testifies $150 million misappropriated, habitual conflicts of interest violations by Liberal appointed board members, coordinated effort by government to cover up. Of course it is, just like every other scandal. We've seen Trudeau's little speech at his little banquet where he's saying, "Hey, isn't that funny? You missed my other scandals because you were talking about other distractions," and he thinks this stuff's hilarious. In the following weeks, Industry Minister Francois Philippe Champagne kept its senior management in place despite knowing of its shortcomings, as identified in a conflict of interest report published October 4th. According to Ahmad, ministry officials changed tact and ordered them to complete a series of measures to improve its governance and financial practices. As of writing this article, the SDTC has completed its response to Champagne's action plan, but awaits the government's approval. The whistleblower claims this amounts to a cover-up. Yeah, probably. Ahmad, who conducted investment and due diligence to the foundation from 2020 to 2022, can speak publicly on the SDTC as he is not bound by a non-disclosure agreement like the other employees. It's my understanding he's one of the very few who was not required to sign one. Champagne also hired McCarthy Tetralt LLP to review the SDTC's human resources practices, confirming that funding won't resume until he is satisfied with their corrective actions. As part of that review, current and former employees have been invited to speak, and the government has waived the terms of any non-disclosure agreements, reported the Globe. Well, it shouldn't be confirming funding won't resume until they're satisfied with the corrective actions. This should be, where's the money? We're not giving you any more. Doug McConaughey, Assistant Deputy Minister to ISED, appeared before the House of Ethics Committee last month, where he alleged the whistleblower baited him into making speculative and inappropriate remarks about letting go SDTC officials. And of course, they were speculative. On December 11th, Deputy Minister Simon Kennedy said he could not testify on which McConaughey made those statements over more than 30 hours of conversations between bureaucrats. Ahmad disputes this claim, suggesting a definitive consensus existed between the ISED and the Privy Council office to fire the board and executives team at SDTC. This was described to us in detail on multiple occasions in late August and September, he said. The outcome of the situation only changed when the minister's office became involved, and he is ultimately responsible for SDTC. Again, sweeping it under the rug. He's the one who needs to tell the truth about what the real situation is, he testified before the industry committee. Since the report, longtime CEO Leah Lawrence and board chair Annette Verschuren stepped down over the findings they thoroughly dispute. So again, no talk about legal ramifications, no handcuffs, no police. Just, oh, you stole money? That's okay. You can just walk away. You can just step down. No problem. No harm, no foul. Lawrence claimed a sustained and malicious campaign to undermine her leadership by the whistleblower forced her resignation. No, it's because you're guilty of sin. Meanwhile, the Auditor General and Federal Ethics Commission is investigating Verschuren's role in approving $38 million in COOF relief funding to corporate partners, including a $217,000 grant to her money-losing battery company, and our store incorporated. Now, again, we've seen what happened there is she kind of just walked away from testimony in the middle of being asked questions because, again, you don't have to have any accountability. Just shut your camera off and walk away. Ahmad told MPs that Lawrence presided over a toxic workplace at the foundation where they let go of employees who questioned their procedures and investments. Again, don't dare question almighty, oh glorious leader, or or you're out of a job. Just shut up and work. Within a 2-year period, 4 human resources directors had their contracts terminated or went on stress-related leave, according to the testimony from whistleblower. Every single one of them was put under an NDA, which specifically had language that prevented them from even going to the federal government to complain about the issues that were ongoing, he said. The SDTC spokeswoman, Jane Mary Bannigan, contested the testimony, which he says contained very serious allegations, which are either false or grossly misrepresented. Yeah, right. How long before he has to step down? He confirmed the foundation is cooperating openly and transparently with all third-party reviews underway. Now, who does that sound like? Who does that sound like when you hear that? Sounds a lot like Justin Trudeau and his usual pre-printed rhetoric that just says, hey, shut up, nothing's going to happen, nothing's going to come from this. Here's the problem I have with all of this, and here's the problem that I said at the beginning of this video I was going to talk about. We're not seeing any push from the opposition for arrests. Sure, they'll bring it up in the House of Commons during question periods. They'll talk about their findings. They'll talk about things they found. We've seen this with Mark Genouy. We've seen this with Larry Brock. Of course, they're always willing to bring up the controversial facts that they're finding during this committee. However, the biggest problem that I'm seeing here that has me concerned, whether Justin Trudeau leaves office or not, is why aren't any of them calling for arrests? Why isn't? Don't forget, Larry Brock is a former attorney. He knows the law. And people can say, well, the RCMP are corrupt because they're paid by Trudeau. Well, these guys should be demanding heads on swivels. They should be putting people in cuffs. They should be constantly riling up any forms of their influence, their candidacy to encourage any kind of branch of authority to take full action here. Because I don't know about you guys, I'm getting fed up and sick and tired of seeing scandal after scandal after scandal and dollar after dollar of our money being funneled through this government. And I always see it in the comments where people say, hey, it's uniparty. Pierre's not going to save anybody. He's not going to do anything. And I'm telling you right now, despite my support for the Conservative Party moving forward, it scares the living daylights out of me that this is what's going to happen when Pierre gets in, that maybe he'll just be a little more careful, that closed door scandals will still happen, maybe not to the extent of what we've seen with Justin Trudeau. But the question I'm asking, and again, when these situations happen and you follow the money, I appreciate that the Conservative MPs are doing their due diligence to hold a committee and try to find fiscally responsible reasons that they can oust the government or vote no confidence. Of course, we've seen that petition from the Conservatives to call for a vote of no confidence, and the signing date's as late as Christmas Eve. And I'll be doing a video next week covering where the signatures are at and what this means moving forward. But it really begs to differ that I'm questioning again, is this fact-finding work? Is this petition just a way to push Trudeau out of office? Where are the actual charges? Where are the police? Where are the RCMP? Where are judges? Where are anyone who, Crown prosecutors who have the ability to issue warrants, to arrest even these people stepping down? I'm not seeing anything. And that's worrisome. Because again, if somebody like Pierre Poilievre is running and saying, I'm going to take away the carbon tax, well, that does help us. But if we're going to have more corruption, if we're going to see more tax dollars funneled through these companies, what should be happening here are arrests, laying down the law and showing that, hey, we're not putting up with this kind of behavior. It's unacceptable and it's not going to happen again. That's how you get the people's faith in line with what your party's trying to produce. Until then, I'm sorry to say it, I have to sit back and question what are we going to see with other governments when we talk about uniparties, when we talk about other behaviors. If you think Stephen Harper never went through his terms without some question of ethics or people saying I have to recuse myself for the betterment of these deals that are going on simply because they knew they were wrong but let them go through anyways. Every party has had these problems tied to their feet. It's just that Justin Trudeau lacks the capability to do anything intelligent. He's been caught on numerous occasions. He's easily corruptible, is the problem. Whereas other politicians have just been better educated, I think, and they've just been better at covering their tracks. When we look at Jean Chrétien in the sponsorship scandal, that was a huge blow up, and that took him out of office. Why isn't any of this taking Trudeau out, and why aren't the Conservatives demanding heads on a platter? That's my question. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Again, I'd like to say I'm concerned about this. I'm more depressed and fed up because we still have a year and a half of Justin Trudeau to put up with. I know people are calling for a spring election, but I don't know at this point. How much more damage is going to be done? Again, when you look at taxes increasing and our dollar becoming weaker, people unable to sustain any kind of value of living, that people are basically working to be broke. Where does it end? Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, I hope this video has earned your subscription. Forgive my rambling. I'm trying to make sense of what I keep seeing. I'll keep bringing you guys the news, but as you're clicking that subscribe button, make sure to turn on the bell for notifications. Join us here on the channel throughout the week, Monday to Fridays. I do post regularly updated content. And again, when you talk about Trudeau and you talk about, his corruption, this is part of these internet censorship bills that puts us out of the algorithm, and the shadow bans are real. So make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the usual YouTube stuff, and come back frequently to check for new content. And join us every Sunday night here on the channel at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time for the weekly wrap, where we go over everything we've talked about throughout the week, everything coming up in the week ahead, and a little bit of back and forth with the community. It's always great to see you guys there. I look forward to seeing each and every one of you there this Sunday on the channel, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.